Every life has a soundtrack. Join me as we invite guests to share their journey through music, one song at a time. 10 moments, 10 memories. I'm your host, Sean, and welcome to 10 Tracks.
Are you ready?
Welcome to 10 Tracks. My guest today is artist and musician and native from Houston, Texas, the original cowpunk, Mr. Max Diaz. Disclaimer, Max is also my nephew. Max, how are you? Welcome.
I'm so good. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's great to see you. And I really welcome to 10 Tracks. I'm really glad to have you on the show.
An honor to be on 10 Tracks.
Same here. You are an amazing artist, not just because you're my nephew, but you've been roaming around the world. In the US, you've been on both coasts doing tours, sold out, headlining, as well as you were doing some, like last year, I think you had some shows with, you were in New York and in LA.
Yeah. So it's usually just support for the most part. And then just recently we did oh my gosh, we did like a headline on the East Coast, but it was like I'll tell you this, like some of the cities were like our first time, which like as a band you should not headline somewhere you haven't ever been, right? So that was interesting in itself.
Where was that?
That was Nashville, because I thought this whole tour was, but that's the thing is like I was like, oh, Nashville, like no, like I had like the false judgment of like, well, I'm a cowboy, of course I'm gonna, but since Nashville is like the hub of music's going on every minute of the day. So
yeah,
who am I to be like, oh yeah, but no, yeah, we just did a East Coast tour, and then we're having another tour on the West Coast, which is my favorite. I love the West Coast. We're doing an October tour, and that'll be pretty cool. I'm really excited for that one.
you're going to be doing the whole West Coast?
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, just like part of it. Literally all the places I want to go, like, which is so weird because, like, I've been on the West Coast before. I'm like, I could probably do without, Seattle, which I love Seattle, but like, I'm much more of a nature guy. So like Lake Tahoe and like Reno, Nevada, just gorgeous. It's like so good. And Colorado too, like the in between Salt Lake and Colorado, that drive, it's gorgeous. So yeah, it's going to be with another band called Never Easy. They're like shoegaze, sort of like alternative rock. But this is going to be the first tour where I'm only on the microphone. There's no guitar. Like,
oh, really?
Yes. So I have two other people. So Nick, my bassist, he was originally a guitarist. I'm like, hey man, here are the songs. You just go. And we had a rehearsal just the other day, and it sounds pretty killer. I just
So
gotta
you're gonna be a 5-piece now, or are you a 5-piece already?
Yeah, 5 piece, and more so like a front man, because the biggest thing with playing live with an instrument, I love playing guitar. I'm not the best guitar player in the world, but part of the reason why I would play guitar and sing is because I was hiding behind the guitar. You know what I mean? I'm like hiding behind it, so it's like, well, if I don't compensate with this, then I actually have this to show. You know what I mean?
You can just hold it, so it kind of gives you something, like you're doing something.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm watching. It's the funniest thing too, because I told Nick, my bass player, now guitarist, and that's so funny now because since he started playing guitar, he's like, I'm never going back to bass. Never. You can't make it. I'm like, okay. But now that we've been practicing, I'm like, dude, I just gotta find like what's just some good front man stuff. He's like, just watch like Pantera, like just watch like what they do, watch Morrissey. And I was just like, I don't think you meant to say Morrissey with punk hardcore. I don't think that correlates But
Well, you can do a version of it. Maybe it'll be.
yeah, that's exactly. I'll bring my flowers. I'll be shirtless. I'll be like, yeah, it'd be perfect.
I
But
think you're gonna bring a new energy to cowpunk. So I think it'd be
yeah,
cool.
someone's got to do it. But yeah, that's what I've just been busy with lately.
So tell me a little bit about when you got started. So what you were 13.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
how did you and what was your first instrument you picked up?
Okay. So there's a couple. The first one, it's like notorious, my mom will tell you, is like middle school. I was such a, what do they call it? I fell in love hard. I was it's like a something lover. It's like
Star-crossed lover?
yeah, maybe that, or it's just like I was like I dang, can't find the word. But basically like
Infatuation?
maybe, but like no, it's like I just had like a I had like I love hard, pretty much. And I basically met this girl and I was like talking to her. She did not like me at all, but I convinced myself in middle school, like, no, but we talk every day. She does like me, like. And so anyway, I literally they had a talent show coming up and basically I was like, oh dude. I told my friend, I was like, dude, I'm gonna learn like guitar or something. Like I'm gonna play her something to make her a song. And then all my friends were like, that's so stupid. Don't do that. And I'm like, no, but like, I'm going to try. And so I tried guitar and I was like, this is too hard. Ukulele. Let's do ukulele. And then I did ukulele. And then, yeah, that's like only 4 strings. So I'm like, this is not hard. So I practiced for like a whole 2 weeks of just making songs. And even in the process, I was just like, it was kind of fun to like rhyme and stuff. But like, obviously, like, it's one of those like easy rhymes, like, your love is like a star. There's no one who could tear apart. You know what I mean? It's just basic lyrics, beginner lyrics. And so anyway, come around to the talent show. I was like hyping myself up. I got my flannel on, my backwards cap. I was all like, my head thought this was like the fit. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, we go on stage and the curtains open and I just start playing. And in that moment, I didn't realize I didn't care about anything else. Like it hit me like I just stopped caring about everything. It wasn't the girl, it was just everything. Everything that's ever bothered me was just gone for like those 3 minutes.
So you
And
had
when I
no
got
stage fright, just kind of went up there and did it.
no, no, I was nervous, yeah, because my mom was telling me like behind the scenes, like it's like the motherly love of like, you sure you want to do this? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you sure you want to be known as the ukulele boy? You know what I mean? And at the same time, I was like the one of the many times I was like, no, I'll do it. So then played the
And
show.
you
Then I was
wrote the music and the lyrics.
yes, yes, and
Okay.
it was
Do you remember the
real.
song? What it was called?
Oh God, no. It was like I well, I don't remember what it was called, but I know how it went. And it was like ba da 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 ba da 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 da. Like it was just that same melody. Um, I was a beginner. So, but basically play the show, you know, Emma was there, so they all, clapped and cheered. And when I got off the stage, like swear, didn't even think about her. Was just like, where is she? You know what I mean? I didn't. And when she was never there, which is cool because, I would have had something to piggyback on, being like, well, did you like it? Because now I went home thinking like, damn, I actually found something I actually like. And then from there, I was like, this is cool because I always like music. But the one thing that said it all, like clocked in the motion, was I was at the gym preparing for football, um, because I was like, I'm not gonna do much here, like with my life. I just know like I'm a big guy. I should use my resources. Like football could be easy paycheck, get fit, whatever. And I always listen to rock, like always. I always loved just any rock. And I was the friend who, in the group of friends I was in, mistakenly, basically I was at the gym and I was preparing for football. And like I said, like I always listen to rock music. And I was the friend that was like, did you know Jimi Hendrix was actually late to Woodstock and blah, 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 blah. My friends didn't care. And I was on a Spotify playlist, which I love Spotify for this reason. It's like songs you may like, you never heard of, right? Discover Weekly. So I was like, okay, cool. So it was literally the weirdest thing. And you can ask any musician ever, including, someone who's involved in music. I heard live at Reading Festival in 1992, Nirvana, Territorial Pissings. And I never heard a live album before, to preface that. Never heard anything like live. I didn't know that was done. And so I heard like crowd. I was like, whoa, this sounds like a lot of people. What the hell? And then, the intro, come on, people now, small. And then it played, they played music that wasn't perfect. Like, which made me realize, because I've only heard everything on the radio. If it's not on the radio, it's not good, pretty much. That was my mentality at the time. And when it came in, literally, like the only sound I could replicate to make to show you what my brain chemistry was like when I heard that for the first time, it went whoa, like it just switched. And I like got off the bench and I just like immediately like just drove to Guitar Center. I was like, I need the cheapest guitar right now, electric. I need the cheapest one right now. And they're like, okay. And so like then and there, I just started messing around for like 2 years on electric guitar, and then just playing jams. And it was indie. And that's another thing too. If you go on my Spotify, all the songs are kind of different, right? And they have their thing. And that's just me trying to find something.
Yeah,
And when I first started, it was just indie. And I actually started for the wrong reason. I was like, oh, if it's indie, a lot of people are going to like it. I was making it for a certain crowd, which it's not uncommon to do as an artist, but you know, from what I know now, it's much better to do things for yourself. You know what I mean? And
totally.
and I think like if you play music, if you like, you should make music you want to hear that's not out. You know what I mean? So anyway, I started doing that, and then I started like kind of like defining a brand. And when I say brand, like I've always been interested in country and outlaw stuff, and like with the cowboy thing, I think my one of my biggest things was like, okay, how do I stand out like on stage? I can't wear flannels, I can't wear shirts, I can't wear just like everyone wears this. And I was like, what'd be cool is if like I wore something that like you just couldn't take your eyes off, like if I was doing anything. So I was like, okay. And then it became wearing suits with like, this, and then it became the cow hat and the cowboy hat, and then the shades, and then now up to a point where I do wear the shades and the cowboy hat and the boots, because that's like the three things people distinguish is this cowboy hat and the pointy long boots. So discovering that, networking through different bands, and ultimately, learning, making mistakes, and just developing like a new sense of like, okay, what is this industry? What can I do to have this on a leash? You know what I mean? Like, how can I go about this the right way? Especially if you're independent, because if, this day and age too, I know a lot of people who are in labels and stuff, which by the
Mhm.
way, when you're 13 or 14, when you hear label, you think that's the ticket. As you get
Yeah,
older, you realize no, the opposite is the opposite of that, on some occasions for some bands. Um, but developing that, and just as of now, it's been 5 years. So that concert was probably 2019, and I just started music in 2020. It's been 5 years. I've been touring and just like kind of finding a voice. And I started. I like to think my vocals have gotten better because I started with like screaming and stuff. Excuse me. Um, I'm trying to get into hardcore, but as of recently, I've like been making songs for the new record that's going to come out next year. It's like Queens of the Stone Age mixed with a little like early Foo Fighters mixed with Beach Boys, if that makes any sense. And like with
totally.
a twang to it. So up until this point, networking, touring, just finding what I like, what I don't like, working with people that I like and also don't like, and just seeing what I could do to build a better near for next year.
Well, let's dive into some of your tracks here. You mentioned a
Mhm.
few names that I think we're going to be talking about later, but let's get started with your first one, and this is Dope Lemon.
Yes.
They're an Australian band.
Yes, they are. They are.
This song's called
Yes.
Marinade.
Yes. So this song was a period in my life where my girlfriend was moving to San Antonio for college. And I was like kind of broken because I thought like in my head, the stigma I thought in my head was, well, she goes to college, we're not gonna be dating. You know what I mean? Like, but when you want to commit to something, just it shouldn't it shouldn't end that shortly just because of something you could, compromise and figure out, right? So, at the time too, like I never toured before. So I was like, all right, 2 hours away, 2 hours and 50 minutes. Like, I don't know if this is long distance. We got to figure it out. But every time I'd go and visit her, I'd put that song on first. Every time. And that artist, Don't Let Me, became a song, like an artist we both bonded over so well. And a lot of his tracks are just uh either psychedelic, kind of funky, a little indie, and they all just like when I listen to it, instant nostalgia. I remember like when you listen to some songs, you can like smell something, you could just feel something, a time, a specific period. And I just remember every time I hear that song is driving to San Antonio and going to see her. And it wasn't until like last year, I think, we went to go see him live because he's not, he's from Australia. And I've always loved him. And I didn't realize I've always loved him because he's actually in a band called Angus and Julia Stone.
Yeah.
Great, great rock group. They're siblings. Angus is the brother, Julia Stone is the sister. I never knew that. I thought they were together. But once he kind of backed away from that project, he started Dope Lemon. So I was like, okay, it's kind of like defining his own thing. And so he went to Houston as the first date on the US tour, which I'm like,
Wow.
perfect. And so me and Grace go, and we're just like waiting outside. Hardly any people are there, like on the line. Kind of like I'm kind of like me. I'm the idiot. You know what I mean? Like, what is this? Like, this is an amazing artist. And we get in and start packing up. I kid you not. He was so good. He was so like presence, everything. And I know all the components it takes to have like live backing tracks and like the instrumentation and of all of it. Like I know what it is now. And I
He
see it.
came on stage by himself, or did he have a band?
He had a band, but the thing is, the band went on one by one. Like he had the intro. I'm like, okay, perfect. He's setting the tone, and then he comes out and just hits the first like chord to a song
Yeah.
I love, and it's called "How Many Times." It's so good. But so the reason I bring it up, which is why I love him, so they had a fog machine that triggered the smoke alarm, and they were playing a song, and literally in the middle of it, they stopped and matched the key of the alarm that was like going. It was the great like you wouldn't like it was like Lemmy walked on stage or something. Like I literally was like, oh my, and Grace is kind of like, what just happened? And I'm like, you don't get it. I'm like, they just changed the key just because, and when it was over, they went back to the original key. It was so insane. And I just love that group because they
But you got to
not
be a
only
musician to probably get that. Most people in the
and
audience might not have really
and that's
caught
what I
on with
respect
that.
the most. That's exactly what I respect the most about them is not only the nostalgia, but the showmanship to where like I texted him like probably 2 weeks prior. I'm like, I'm so excited for your Houston show. Like, I can't wait. And most people like who are pretty big, because he's pretty big, they don't respond. 5 minutes. He was like, can't wait to see you there, dude. Like, much love. And I'm like, that in itself is like, all right, I'm a dedicated fan now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really good. Um, we come to track two. This is Oberhofer,
Oh yeah. Sea of Dreams.
uh, Sea of Dreams. His name's Brad Oberhofer, but I guess he just goes by Oberhofer. That's
Over.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's originally, I think, is he from the West Coast or somewhere
Yeah,
like
he's from
Michigan?
LA. Yeah, yeah, he lives in LA now. I don't know where he's actually from.
This his first album that he did was produced by Steve Lillywhite. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's done tons of like U2. He's done Morrissey. He's done lots of other.
Really?
I think he may have done Blur. I need to remember, but he's got a big Rasta. I mean, a lot of U2 early albums was Steve Lillywhite, and so he's a acclaimed direct producer. So I guess working that's pretty cool that he's working with Oberhofer.
Yeah. And Oberhofer is just a great artist. Like he's just his sense of melody and overall vibe of a song is great. But the thing with this song, Sea of Dreams, is like I play Marinade every time I go to San Antonio. I play Sea of Dreams every time I'm on tour. That is the first song I put on when I go to anywhere I'm leaving. Like that is the first song you hear at 4 a.m. in the morning when all the band, we're all leaving in the van because the lyrics are pretty self-explanatory. Like, you'll find me in a sea of dreams. And basically every time I go on tour, I like to see it myself going out into like pretty much the atmosphere, the ocean, you know what I mean? Like each city is a wave, right? So some waves hit pretty good, some waves hit pretty bad, Nashville. But at the same time, like, it just gives me motivation because every time I hear it, I'm just like, it honestly like it gets me a good vibe of like, okay, like it's one of those traditions, like you have like a gym song you listen to maybe like more than once at the gym. It's just it's one of those songs that brings me peace and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can get through this tour and I just got to do XYZ. I'm like planning it all in my head. But it is an awesome song to hear at 4 a.m. when it's all dark and the band members are sleeping. It's perfect.
Now, do you one of the big things when I would go to shows, and especially artists that I really, really liked and, followed and were, kind of into, you would listen to the music they would play before they came on. So they would have their own
Yes.
playlist that would be there. Do you have your own playlist that you kind of put on
Yes.
for the fans that are there? And
Yeah.
then do you actually have intro music or exit music yourself for your, when
Yeah.
you,
So usually like in some gigs, I can't have an intro. So this like festival I'm doing in Phoenix, there's like a million bands. So like who am I to be like waste my set time or my 25-minute set
yeah,
on a 2-minute intro, you know what I mean? So but it's only if I'm like headlining or if I know like, all right, I'm playing an hour, I want to set the
yeah.
tone. I have a playlist that all the music I like and it's pretty much all like if my fans like my music, they'll like my playlist pretty much because it's essentially like everything. Like we got Queens of the Stone Age, we got Beach Boys, we got like Bajas, we got Depeche Mode, we got Nine Inch Nails, you know what I mean? It's all the things that like come to mind when you think of sex gimp cowboy guy, you know what I mean? So whatever that means. But yeah, I usually try to have an intro. Outro is usually just like if it's in the song, we'll do a crescendo thing where we're like ba 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 ba, and then the drums are going. Oh, thank you so much. Good night. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's all about the performance of it.
Yeah, I was I forget who it was, but I know like Metallica, I listened to one of their concerts. You could hear a little snippet, and they were using um Morricone's what is it? The one after the something the gold
Yeah, 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 and that's the like the cowboy sort of like theme. Yeah, I
it's
was
from Good, the Bad, the Ugly, or one of the
yes.
movies, but it's the other song from there about the gold.
Yeah, and that was so funny too because I brought that to Nick. I was like, because I never seen Metallica live, I just knew the
Uh,
songs, and so I was like, dude, we should use this as our intro. And he was like,
Ecstasy of the Gold. That's it. Yeah.
yes, yes, and he was like, yeah, bro, we can't use that. And I was like, why? He's like, he just showed me a video of Metallica, and there was like 50 million fans in an audio like stage. And I was like, yeah, okay, we can't use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I make my own intros, so like I love sound design and like I'm such a nerd. I love movies. Besides cinematography, I love sound design. I love it.
Yeah.
Like I think it's the coolest thing ever. Like when you look at like Alien, that movie where like it was like right? There's some dude in a booth in LA with a watermelon with the sandpaper. He's just rubbing the water. You know what I mean? It's just so crazy. But I developed my own intro. I like sampled a bunch of different things and um it's like if you don't have a good intro, like how are you gonna come out? That's like one of my favorite. That's like one of my favorite parts of the show.
Yeah, I think that it sets you apart, and it actually prepares your fans for what's coming next. Give them
Yeah,
something that they don't.
yeah, and you get hyped. Like the reason Metallica has an intro is because like, oh, I know what's coming. You know what I mean? Like let's, it builds the anticipation for the screams to go even louder, rather than we just walk on and they're like, wait, are they on stage right now? What? You know what I mean? So
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Um,
theatrics.
Tell me a little bit about so most of your stuff you've produced it yourself, right?
Yeah, well, most of it prior to like 2020, yeah, four. Before 2024, I was kind of doing everything myself, and um, I do not know how to mix. I do not know how to do any of that stuff. I was making a lot of the songs in my garage at the time. So like Connie and Manson were like the two, like in Lyrium. And well, actually, yeah, pretty much almost everything was done in the garage. And it wasn't until recently, like recently being like 2 years ago, I met this guy named Xander. And he used to be a guitar tech at Guitar Center by my house. And I just met him and he was like, "Are you Mina Max?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And that interaction like blossomed into like, "Yeah, I mix stuff." And I was like, "Okay." And then we did Metanoia together, my last album. And I loved it. And then, it took a second to work with my other producer, Ed. He's like my guitarist. And, we made a couple good songs. And then I was just thinking about it and I was like, you know what? Like Xander is such an awesome friend and such an awesome resource when it comes to like making the songs and stuff. I think it'd be more practical to just go with him and work on it. And plus Ed too, like he just wants to focus on guitar. So
Hmm.
till then, like we just been mixing and I now know like when I listen to music, I know like, damn, like there's a high frequency there. There's a, you know what I mean? Like there's too much compression on this or, and that's all thanks to Xander. But before that, I knew nothing. I was just in the garage, like on my MIDI pad, like done. Okay, cool. And then that was it. So it was
I mean,
just,
you have some great samples that I noticed you put into the songs on Metanoia. I think you actually did it on the actual the song. There's like this bit. It sounds to me like it's a cassette tape, like you're opening a cassette deck or something, or putting a set
yeah,
into the deck, which is
yeah,
very old school and kind of cool. But that's
exactly.
what I got the sound out. It could be something more modern and
No, no, that was it. That
younger.
was it. What's so funny is like my drummer at the time, Will, he came up with that idea. So like I was kind of like, okay, but we should have like a solo at the end of this thing. He's like, it'd be cool. My boy's like, pause. And like I like to think like my creative process is very personal. You know what I mean? Like I can't really like create if someone else is in the room, unless if they're musicians, right? So like I was kind of like, I don't know. And he was like, hold on, I'll be right back. And so he goes to his house and he has an old school cassette thing. He just got a
Yeah.
mic and just did it himself. And he came back and he was like, okay, here we go. And then we put in the song and I was like, yeah, no, this is perfect. This is perfect. So since then, it's just like, I always love samples too, because like whether it's like songs, like one of my tracks, Your Desire, has like at the end of it has a country like sample, like outro
Yeah.
from Eddy Arnold called Carry Me Back to the Lone Prairie, which is what we'll get to eventually. But I've always been a huge fan of samples since I've heard Ministry.
Hmm. Well, your track three, this is another band that does lots of samples, and they've kind of taken being in the band to a new level. It's almost like a third kind of a genre of type of music. It's not, it's, and I'm familiar with them from the early days of Blur with Damon Albarn, but this is his offshoot called Gorillaz. He's done a couple of these different projects, which I think the Gorillaz has probably got the most popular and probably culturally, it's just
Oh
uh,
yeah.
it's clicked with so many people because of the animation and whereas I get the music and the sound that he's making, I may not have gotten so close to the animation part of it with the partner who kind of creates all of that, but
Yeah.
together it's very unique and pretty cool kind of thing.
Yeah. Are we referring to 5-4 Gorillas
Five
right
four,
now?
Yeah.
5-4. Yeah, so this album, I remember I was in my bed, I was just sleeping. I was like probably sixth, fifth grade or something. And my
It's
mom comes,
2001 it came out.
yeah, yeah. And I was in fifth grade or so, and I never heard of him ever. And my mom just knocks on the door just randomly one night. She's like, "Hey," I was like, "What's up?" She's like, "Have you seen this?" And she showed me Clint Eastwood, the
Yeah.
music video. And I was like, "So this is a band?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, do they perform like, like as cartoons?" And like, no, but it's just something cool. I thought I'd show you. And once I saw the video, immediately I was hooked. I was so hooked. I was like, I loved like Damon Albarn's voice is so unique and so good. But when it was paired with the 2D character, I feel like it was more believable. I was like, it's like I am like 2D is essentially, him, right? But like when I see the characters all in motion, even Murdoch, I love Murdoch too. Like despite him being crazy, but like I love that song. And when I found the album, I was like, I've had a couple songs I liked, I was like, okay, cool. The 5-4 was definitely one of them. But it wasn't until like literally like last year I listened to it in full, which I don't know why I haven't already, but that is a masterclass of an album. And one of that song, and Tomorrow Comes Today and Rehash are like my ultimate favorites.
I mean, they've done some amazing collaborations with different artists. I mean, they've worked obviously with hip hop artists, and I think on the second album was De La Soul, and then I think even one of their more recent albums, they've got Stevie Nicks on there. I don't know if you've seen that or
Yeah.
no, which is
Yeah. And they
pretty,
also
wild.
Yeah, and they got boots and you know what's crazy too is like at that time when they first started with the first Gorillaz record, it was just rappers at that time that were pretty hot. You know what I mean? Like
Dell,
and
I think his name is Dell. The
yeah, and it was like that and other just rappers that like De La Soul, who doesn't know that band? But that group. And as of recently, yeah, they got like Tame Impala, they got Bootsy Collins, they got Vince Staples, they
Snoop.
got yeah, Snoop, they got a bunch. And oh yeah, and that's on the um Plastic Beach record too. And it's just so good. So good.
Yeah, I think there was it Lou Reed? Was he on there too? And maybe Marky Smith from The Fall, and if you know who they are,
Oh yeah, yeah.
he's passed. Um, but there's also this track you picked. Um, I had to look this up because I had no clue what 5-4 really stands for. But do you know in music terms what this is?
Is it a time signature?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So I
So
don't know why they did that, or if that's part of how the song was or something. But that's
I
kind
don't
of
know
what they
how it
did.
relates to She Turned My Dad On in the song. It's not how that correlates, but cool title though. Cool title.
um, are you part of a scene in Houston? Like, is there a big music scene that you're kind of integrated into as well?
That's a great question. No. I know a bunch of other like local bands that are pretty great. I just don't really hang out with people other than my family and like my band and my friends. There's a huge hardcore scene in Houston. Um, I'd like to go there, but like you know what I mean. But at the same time, like I don't love people running on stage. I don't love that. You know what I mean? I don't love, and
Yeah,
also I don't like fights at state at concerts. I know it's like get out of the pit then, and that's cool. I like mosh pits. Those are cool. But in hardcore, like I've been to a couple hardcore shows, and there's like dudes like literally just straight up just punching people. I'm like, and they're doing like the thing that's so obvious. They're just trying to get some like a reaction. Like they can't afford the therapy, so they're taking it out on the floor at a
yeah.
hardcore show. And that sometimes can be healthy if you're just dancing, you're doing your, you know, circle jerk dance or whatever. And like it's not until like as of recently, like we kind of made a scene. Like I'm in a scene where it's just all friends. Like I know a bunch of other bands. Like one of my favorite Houston bands is it's this artist named Azul. And so me and him hang out. This other band, Telebastards, we hang out. But as far as like a scene, I'm not really a part of like the rock scene or the hardcore scene just yet, but I'm gonna get there.
And when it comes to some of these bands that you do, you are kind of more, or you have a relationship with, you do some producing for them.
Well, yeah, I worked with this band called Telebastards for like a music video. I'm currently going to start working with another band out of San Antonio to do some like editing and film stuff. But as far as like producing content and stuff, I'm pretty, I have a knack for that stuff. But
Yeah.
as far as music, sometimes I could be like a Rick Rubin, where like we'll be hanging out in the studio and then he's like, what do I do this? I'm like, no, bro, you should try it like this. And then like, okay, they try it and they're like, yeah, pretty good. And just give him like a lend an ear, but it's so common for, especially in my group of musicians, where we'll make something and we'll send it to a group chat. Like, what do y'all think? And then half the time it's either like, it's pretty good. Yeah, yeah, that's great, great, great. Thumbs up, thumbs up. And then other half is just like, can you change the key? What's the tempo at? I don't really like that time signature. Okay, yeah, but I love that. Like even today, we're gonna go to the beach. You know what I mean? So we're like all pretty close into one, like it's like a small circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We get to track 4, and this is Queens of the Stone Age, Go with the Flow.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this song is one of those songs where, like I said, instantly heard it. I was like, okay. And the thing about Queens of the Stone Age is I saw the video first before I heard the song. And the video is so 2000s, right? So like they have an awesome concept. I love the red and black. As you can tell, I love red and black, And so their vibe, I was like, okay, that's perfect. Like I love
Mm,
going for. And even like the visuals and stuff, I know, they're trying to do like the sex appeal and it's like you watch the video, it's just crazy. But I love Josh Home. I love his voice. I love his style. I love that he's not traditional rock. He does the weird stuff that like sometimes is not in key, but it just matches because it's chaotic. And I really enjoy this band, and Go with the Flow is one of the first tracks I heard. And then obviously, you go to Song for the Dead, and then You Think I Ain't Worth a Dollar. That's another track they have. But that's my favorite album of theirs. Is their
now, Dave Grohl played on a lot of their stuff, but he didn't play
yeah.
drums on this track, Go with the Flow. But everything else on the
No, he
album, I think he
didn't.
played it.
No, he didn't. He played on Song for the Dead and No One Knows. And I think there may be others, but yeah, no, him and Josh Home are really, really close. And they started their own side project together called Crooked Vultures, or them Crooked Vultures or something. And that's with Dave Grohl, Josh Home, and the bassist of Led Zeppelin. I cannot remember right now the name of him, but it was
Of Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin. Yes, it
Yeah,
was the
yeah, okay.
bassist of Led Zeppelin. But yeah, they all-time favorite group. That's one of the songs. Go with the Flow. All these songs we've been listening are in the playlist for the shows, which is so
Yeah.
funny.
There's I mean, I know Queens of the Stone Age pretty well, and then I was looking up when you have all this random boring time, I was looking up a Misfit song, Hybrid Moments, on YouTube, and I came across a recording by this female artist who, after, I didn't know who she was, and then she just did this like really kind of fast acoustic with an amp on her guitar, like a metal pedal or whatever.
Oh,
Um,
Brody Vale.
yeah, and she does a cover of that, and she's his wife. So when I found out who she was and stuff, that's Josh Holmes' wife, and her version of Hybrid Moments, which is kick ass, and it's really pretty cool. I don't know if you've
Her
seen it or.
voice. No, I have. Yeah, Brody Vale. I love that video. That her voice is so punk rock. That's all.
Yeah,
Only thing that comes to mind. Like when I hear, like, there's some girls who have a great screams, but this girl has a great rugged voice.
yeah,
That's like
it's very,
when I hear her sing, I'm like, oh, you've been through some stuff. Like I
yeah,
hear it in your voice, which is so cool.
yeah. It was a good like version of it that I found and stuff. So I really I like that. Green Day does a good version. They gave us a gift to Metallica or something like that. They do as
Oh
well.
yeah. Never got into Green Day, but I really at one time I could not stop listening to Basket Case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one period. 13 years old. Who are you? Like, how are you not gonna like Green Day and Nirvana? You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things.
What when you first started getting into music, what was the first song that kind of triggered like I like music? Or, like some people they listen to music and they will appreciate, it's a background and they're happy to hum something. But people who are, even if you're not an artist, some people just gravitate and it's like clicks and music is their thing. So how did you get like what was the first song, maybe if you remember, that was like, this is it? I like this, this is what I like, and maybe to follow a buy or purchase and stuff.
Well, yeah. Once I heard Territorial Pissings by Nirvana, I was like, this is it. Like, this is great. Like, it's music that's not perfect. And this dude's scream is like, and another thing too, my uncle Renee, he's like my punkle. So like he kind of put me on the punk like stuff. And he
Yeah.
always told me, he was like, when I found Sex Pistols bodies, uh, when he was screaming, I could feel like I know what that feels like is like that scream, his scream. When I heard Kurt, I was like, holy crap, like this is what represents me. Like this is what I've always felt. And it wasn't until I watched their live at Paramount 1991 in Seattle, like video concert.
Mhm.
Which by the way, if you haven't seen Masterclass, so good. But basically they have a song called Negative Creep. And that one is just like literally this is how it like clicked for me. There's hardly any chords. Like it's just drop D going up and down and then hitting different notes. And it's like it's not a song that goes off chords, but it's a song that goes off feeling of you know what I mean? And so when he's like for the pauses, there's like little like there's like little keys he hits that's like matches his tone of voice. And when I heard it, I was like, okay, this doesn't sound perfect. It's kick ass, but also like it's contributing to his words. It's not the other way around. You know what I mean? It's contributing to what he wants to portray as like, vocalist. And even the screams, it just kicked in for me. I was like, I don't need to hit the G chord, C chord, D. You know what I mean? I don't gotta be traditional. I can learn covers if, I want to make an extra buck. But uh I think it's all based on feeling. And Nirvana is just one of those bands where I'm like, it's not traditional. It isn't. Like I don't think there's any band like Heart Shaped Box. Like I don't I would like to see another band interpret that song on those chords. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
might sound like a whole different song.
We get to track 5. This is Sun Kill Moon, which I guess the singer was also part of Red House Painter, or that
Uh
was his previous band.
I believe so. And he also was in a movie. It was I don't think it was Dazed and Confused. I think it was called like it was some sort of like rock star movie. Almost Famous. He was in Almost
Almost
Famous.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Mark
found
Kozelek, right?
yeah, yeah. And I found him through Spotify, but immediately, like, have you heard this song before?
No.
His voice, like his voice and his cadence, it's like he just got out of bed and just hit record. And I just love the lyrics because they don't there's no message in the song. Every lyric in this song is like he's reading from a notebook, like like a day entry, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
he was reading down like everything he did that week, you know what I mean? And it's so cool because someone who has ADHD, uh like this song is like I feel seen because this is what goes on in my head. It's just different things like worried about my mom and it's just like I had crab cakes and also you know what I mean. Like this whole song is just so good and the vibe of it, especially if you're driving. is just a perfect mood setter. So good.
He talks about he's going to New Orleans to see some family or something like that in there. He kind of throws in there.
Yeah.
I was like, because I was like,
Yeah, I didn't
nice.
realize. Yeah, well, dang, that's look at that. That's such a universe thing because even that lyric too, like applies to you. That's so cool. That is so cool.
The album's called Benji, which I don't know if you remember this because this was like when I was a young kid, but Benji it was a lot of movies they made about a dog. It was kind of a famous little dog that they just were able to make movies out. I don't know if they were super stoned and just like put the dog in the movie and people will buy tickets for it. But this like
It's missing a
1974.
dog. Yeah, they're like, it's just the movie's great, guys. We're just missing the dog.
Yeah,
We just need the dog.
let's build the movie around the dog. This
Yeah,
will,
literally.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And then this song's called "Ben's My Friend."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This song, yeah, basically, like I said, like and that's a lot of his songs. They're just like word throw up. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
different experiences, different things, and how he's feeling. But this song is just, I love it vocally. I love the melody. I love the harmonies. I love the acoustic guitar solo. When I first heard it, I was like, okay, it's gonna get hard at some point. Like it's gonna crash into something. No, it doesn't do that. It just sets the tone. And I love the fact that he can make an awesome, beautiful harmony of like a chorus that's just like the crab cakes, the crab cake. It's just like, what the hell? It's so weird, but I love the tone.
There's also Steve Shelley from Sonic Youth who plays on this album as
Oh,
well,
really?
which, I'm a big Sonic Youth fan of some of their
Me
early
too.
stuff. And so that was pretty cool. But this is thank you for turning me on to this because this is somebody I'm going to keep checking out and listen to some of their other stuff and listen to the rest of the album. So
Pretty good. Another thing another song I'd like to recommend to you is a song. I don't remember the first half, but it's something something died today. It's a
okay.
name of something, but it's just keep in mind died today. Like someone died today. And his vocals are kind of haunting on some parts of this song currently. And that one's just so perfect because that whole album is just so great, but it represents like he's an artist for sure, but it represents like I don't think anyone has ever done like the way he's doing it because it's a lot of like, word vomit, but at the same time, like his sense of melody, his sense of style too. Like in one of the songs, he plays a detuned guitar, like that's not in tune, but it just matches so well because it's just you can feel it. You know what I mean? You can feel the dissonance in that.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about one of my favorite songs on your album, Metanoia. It's Cowboy Cult. And I mean, besides it being a badass tune musically, you've got some great lyrics there. And, just combining both, a lot of times you have people who are, lyricists and singers, and then you have the musicians who write the music, like and stuff. But to combine both and really kind of do something justice, there are some, of course, that have done this forever. But I think you combine the way the song's rhythm and your voice with it, and then with the words, it sounds a little bit older than your age, and that's not to downgrade your age. It's actually sounds like a very mature song.
Yeah, and thank you. You know what's funny too is like even now, like even with my band, like I'll be honest, we think that song is good, but it's not as mature as the stuff we're making now, which is so
Wow.
weird. Because like even now, like look, and I'll tell you with that song, I was working as a dog coach at that time when I was making that song. And it was the funniest thing. Basically, like you just watch the dogs all day. That's literally all it is. But you have a speaker in the room, and literally, like almost every job is I'd listen to the songs I'm making and like think of lyrics in my head, right? And with Cowboy Cole, I wanted, it's just like it's a letter to Texas for real. Like honestly, like I'd like to think of it as like some country dudes love it because they're just like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? It song's about me. But when you read the lyrics, it's kind of backhanded. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah,
it's kind of
totally.
like you're like, because to me, I'm like, I'm doing this thing, like this thing. I'm doing it as uh irony. You're doing it unironically, and half of you are assholes. You know what I mean? Like half of you guys have a horrible mindset. And I think my favorite line in that song is if I'm a preacher or a prophet, you know I can't stop talking. It rhymes prophet with prophet, which I just really
Yeah,
like. Yeah,
getting all the profits.
well, getting all the profit. Yeah, and which is
Yeah.
so good. I'm not super religious, but at the same time, like I I I I I know how it goes. You know what I mean?
You connect the dots really good.
Yeah, I
So
could see. Yeah, and I can see it, and I can see what's going on. And even that song live, that's like we incorporate a funk vibe to it too. So it's just one of those gnarly tracks. I'm glad we get to rip live, but I'm super stoked to show you the new stuff we're working on
I
because
look forward. Yeah.
lately it's so cool.
Well, I think, this is also, you make a good point saying putting irony in it. For those who take it, they think it's one meaning and really it's not. I mean, if you look at somebody more mainstream like Bruce Springsteen and Born in the USA, that's exactly, the same thing he was going for. Whereas how many Americans sing that song and think that's about America when really it's about the veterans who came back and who didn't have what they needed and were kind of just left to kick to the side. So
Yeah.
it's kind of double meaning. So it's pretty clever.
Yeah, and if we want to go bar for bar, we can talk about Blur's uh song 2. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because from what I know, it's just like, let's make a radio hit. And then it became a hit, and he's like, okay. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
We get to track 6. This definitely moves over a little bit from the areas where you've just been going. This is Foster the People, Best Friend.
Yes. Oh, this song. Yeah, this song is me and Logan, my cousin's like band. But I love this band. I love, like I said, like, and that's another thing that's super, like, you'll see the pattern with that is I love melodies that just like instantly click. And the harmonies in that too. Like if I if this wasn't a song already, I'd make it a song. You know what I mean? I just love the groove. And the video to this song is great. But Foster the People, they're really known for that one pumped up kick song, which
Yeah.
is also a double meaning about, school shooting. And I've just always respected the hell out of this band because they got in a record deal that basically, like, they were so smart that they basically were promised, like, hey, if you make this album, here's a specific amount of time you have to make an album, right? um no matter what it is, it could be any album. It could be like just a visualizer. It could just be like, visualizers for the songs or whatever. It doesn't matter. It has to be some sort of album. So they dropped like a visual fake album. Like they had unreleased songs like in the vault that they were like, okay, whatever, and they released it like at midnight when the deal was over. And then that same like the next night they released their official album that like got them money. Like so like they got paid from this little thing at like 11 at night, and then the next day they dropped the real album and actually saw money come through. So they got paid twice pretty much because they wanted to get out of their deal. But that song has awesome melodies, and I think the sound production too. If you listen to it a couple of times, and especially on headphones, you can hear stuff in the right ear, you hear stuff in the left. It's just the sound dynamic in that song, especially on top of those vocals and that melody, is just perfect. It reminds me of a time where me and Logan just would go out in the woods and just hike, because I don't know why, but we just would go in the forest, and I'd always have that song on, and honestly, like, he is one of my best friends, and that's a song where every time we hear it, we're just, we're just bopping.
They have a good sound and a good vibe for
Oh
them.
yeah,
I think the guy's
definitely.
Mark Forster. He's the singer, and that's his thing.
Yeah.
Um, where is the first date you're going to be doing on the new tour that's coming up in October? Where do you hit first?
We're gonna hit Oklahoma City first. Well, actually, no. We have a gig September 25th in Austin, Texas, at a festival called Levitation. And it's like a psychedelic festival or whatever. But there's a band I'm direct supporting at this like small little venue called Warm Doucher. Have you ever heard of them? Warm
No.
Doucher? Okay. But dude, well, basically, it's the band's amazing and they're so weird, but they're also like when I say that name, you know exactly what they sound like. You know what I mean? They're just so cool. And my agent, he just pitched me to him, and it's going to be a big festival, so I'm pretty stoked. But that's the first thing we're hitting. It's not announced yet, but we're hitting that, and then we're going to October 17th, McAllen, Texas. Those are like the first two before the big October tour.
Do you do any warm up gigs or kind of smaller gigs in Houston before, just to kind of get you ready?
Yeah, yeah. Well, now that's the thing though, is like what I've learned is with the Houston show we did last time, um, we didn't play Houston until like the Vera. I was touring with this girl, Violent Vera. We didn't do that till like when we played with her. We waited like honestly, like I want to say 9 to 11 months before we wanted to do another Houston show because that builds demand. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like our job to make sure like, okay, like how can we space it out? But I think we're using this Austin gig as kind of a warm up because we got a new drummer, we have some new songs. And it's not until we hit like the road where we can like really portray and get tighter around then.
Tell me more about track 7. This is Eddie Arnold. You mentioned this earlier. Carry me back to the lone prairie. Now, this is it sounds like it's a Texas song. I don't know where he originally wrote it, or Oklahoma maybe, but um,
Carry me back to the Lone Prairie. I heard that song when me and Grace went to a giant thrift, like it was a giant I want to say like antique mall or something. And I found this record for like $5 and I just love the cover. And if you notice, the font of the album, Eddie Arnold, is the same font I used for Metanoia. So I was really like, I love this classic Western vibe. This song, and I don't know if you have this, I have a funeral playlist or like a life playlist or something, celebration of life playlist. That is the first song I want played at my funeral. That is the most beautiful song I've ever heard. And it's one of those things where I instantly hearing it, I love old country and old outlaw stuff to where when it did happen, like when the song like just came through and I heard the vocals of like the harmonies, it gives you that old Western vibe. It gives you that old Marty Robbins, sort of cowboy thing. But which is crazy because he wasn't a country guy. He was a like Sinatra sort of singer. He did like
Crooner.
ballads and stuff. And then it wasn't until like he like kind of made the leap. Was like, I'll just go country. And at the time, people were like, "Don't do that. What's it's just stupid." And I'd like to argue this is one of the best like country albums like ever. It's so good.
So we get to track 8. Um, Now this is another 60s number from the Godfather of Soul, Mr. James
Mhm.
Brown.
Sir.
It's a man's world.
Yeah. Yeah. If I had another hour, I'd tell you all about James Brown and how much I love him. But music reasons, he was an asshole, as far as a person. But no, I'll just give you like a couple stories about him. This song means so much to me, and there's a bunch of other songs like Get Up, Living in America, and like a bunch of old school sort of funk stuff. Him and Bootsy were really they were in the same band, right? So Bootsy used to play for him. The thing about James Brown is one of the first things I heard about him was so there was at a time, you know, Little Richard. Little Richard
Yep.
at the time was huge, like the rock star. And pretty much he signed to a deal and a tour that basically conflicts with each other. So he couldn't go on tour or hit most states. So the label would hire Little Richard impersonators to go to the concerts and like sing like Little Richard. One of them was James Brown. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until James Brown, like, you know, quit Little Richard thing and then like actually um, you know, became James Brown. But his story is great. I mean, he, you know, didn't come from nothing, really didn't know how to treat women fairly due to his own dad. He was coming up from a bad background. And he became the godfather of soul and funk. But what I think is, and I admire, which I shouldn't admire because it's crazy, is he was such a perfectionist down to the core, but at the same time, he was really controlling. Like he wanted to control his band's life pretty much, was just a no-no. But one of the stories I heard from is as a backing band, if you know messed up or something or whatever, so say you're behind me, right? And I'm James Brown, and you're playing, you know, bass or something, you're going, and I notice something. I turn like I don't turn around, but I snap and I point at you from the behind. That meant I heard your mess up, and that took off $2 off your pay. Which when I heard that, I was like, at the time, I'm
Whoa.
like, that is so insane. Like that is. Oh, wait 1 second. Um, basically, that is um super nuts. It's just nuts because
Yeah.
it takes a lot of it takes a lot of perfection to become something like that and control freak like. But anytime you see him live, anytime, he's just so tight. He's just so in it, and he brings an energy not off the cuff of cocaine, but also like you could feel it. You know what I mean? He was definitely high, but at the same time, like he's just one of those figures and you know, music where you just like definitely wouldn't want to meet him, but I see what he is and I see what he's at and I know and one of my favorite things from him is this and it's kind of sad, but he did an interview on live TV, and in this interview, you have to look it up. I'm not making it up. He got out of jail for domestic abuse charges or something, and he's hitting a tour. And so, like I said, like he is an asshole. Like he doesn't know how to treat anyone right. And even like the bands like would be excited to play with James Brown, but it's not until they work with him they want to avoid him at all costs. He just had
Yeah.
that power. And in the interview, he's just so out of his mind. But like you can tell, like he's still the young James Brown. He's like 60 in this video or 50, and immediately he's just on something, and he's just like she's talking and the like interviewer, and he doesn't even like hear her. He's just like, say you're like the interviewer, he's just like, I'm back. He's just so James Brown. Like you can just tell he's just like it's so funny. But with the song "It's a Man's World," I remember being in my room and hearing it for the first time. Like I'd never seen a live version. Like literally it was like an avalanche, the waterfall effect. Once I heard a live album, I was like, okay, I've never seen a live video. You want to watch the live video? It's just all James Brown, sweaty, you know, in his, you know, suit or whatever he was in. And his voice is just, I mean, I'm not the first one to say this, but his just voice and the power of his voice and his scream, you know, with that yelp he does is just so
Hmm.
infectious to where like I wasn't a funk fan before, but watching him, that got me into Parliament, Funkadelic, George Clinton, you know, a bunch of old school funk bands too. And you just learn like, dang, like at one point in time, this was the rock star. This
Yeah.
was the rock star. You know what I mean? That's what it was the flashy, you know, sort of like, you know, like how I'm doing like the cowboy thing now. these funk musicians, including James Brown, were like, James Brown needs to dress like James Brown. Bootsy Collins needs to dress like Bootsy Collins. You know what I mean? So they were
I
so
think Elvis probably tried to copy a little bit of the James Brown and some of that style, you know,
oh,
with
oh,
the costumes and the capes and stuff. You know,
oh,
that's where he got a lot of that from.
Yeah, Elvis was safe for white people because they didn't want to admit that like soul and funk were great at that time. You know what I mean? Like at that time, it
Yeah,
was weird with segregation, and everything. But Elvis was kind of like which is so ironic because it's like when he's doing it, everyone's like, yeah, 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 this is great. But yeah, he definitely stole a couple things. But James Brown is just an artist that not only like just paved the way, but we're still talking about him. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like left such an impact on the one, and the one is like a method. Like it's basically keeping time. So like each bar, you always go back to that one. So when you hear him live, that band, the instrumental, it sounds like someone's playing it on a loop on like a laptop, and then that's
Hmm.
just how tight he was, and that just shows like a little bit of the showmanship he was creating, which left such an impact on me.
Well, I don't know if you know the irony in this song in particular, but the lyrics were written by a woman. I forget her name who wrote it, but it's he didn't write the lyrics to this song.
You didn't write the lyrics? Oh my gosh. Well,
There
dang.
was some controversy because he tried to claim the like rights, but then I
He
think
did.
the woman took him to court, and so he had to pay her back some money. But she wrote and maybe it was a girlfriend he had at the time. I don't know exactly. I remember hearing the
It's a
story.
man's world. It's a
Yeah,
man's world. That is amazing. I never knew that. That is so funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, songs like "Paid to Be the Boss" is just incredible. I mean, his voice is. You have to kind of look at the artist to the person sometimes, and kind of separate those two.
Yeah, of course, of course. And that's another thing too, like especially with Kurt Cobain, like he wasn't like I think maturing is moving from Nirvana to Alice in Chains or like Pearl Jam. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the evolution depending on who you are. But I totally get that. Like as much as like the crazy stories he does have, can't take away the record.
No,
The records are perfect. You know what I mean?
yeah. We get to track 9. Now we come to a band that I think I understand has been kind of an inspiration for you, Nirvana.
Of course.
This is from the MTV Unplugged uh, set called "Oh Me," which
Mhm.
is a Meat Puppet song.
Yeah.
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 And they did like 3 or 4 covers on that set that they did for MTV.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. Uh, Kurt at that time was going through a bunch of crazy stuff. Like, since he was an addict, like, and the public media found out about it, they took his kid. So when Courtney had Francis, basically, almost immediately, someone came in and were just like, "All right, like, thank you." Took her away because the media has just made him out to be, you know, like crazy drug addicts, which they were addicts, but at the same time, it was just insane. So coming off of that, he just got custody of his child again. He decided like, hey, we should do a live thing. After the Live and Loud uh thing, I think at that time too, if you watch it, he was just tired and like he definitely had his demons for sure. But with the Unplugged album, he made it a point to where I don't want to do any hard songs. I don't want to play the big hits. I don't want to play I want to play the songs that people don't overlook, that overlook, like
Mm-hmm.
Polly, About a Girl, On a Plane, which is one of my favorite Nirvana songs.
Yeah.
But with the covers is, he could have brought out Metallica. He could have brought out Alice in Chains. He could have brought out any other band that was notably bigger just to appeal to the audience. No, he decided to go with the Meat Puppets and he executed those songs perfectly. If you listen to those same songs by the Meat Puppets compared to how Kurt did it, you're like, okay, I see why Kurt did it. Like I see like his
Yeah.
vibe of that tone too. And even then, like his that unplugged is just such an iconic performance because 3 months after that, he died. So that was like one of the last things. And the song "Oh Me" reminds me of a time where I just, I was 16 years old. I'm just starting to, I think I know the world. I think I know how everything works. I'm right. Everyone else is wrong. And I, I just thought to myself, like, how could I be perceived if I continue music? How can I do this? And I don't know why that came to my mind when I was hearing the song, but the tone of that song and the instrumentation just overwhelmed me with a feeling of like uncertainty of like, okay, I know I want to do music, but what is this going to look like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what is the meaning of success? And ultimately it came down to I'd love to go to a gas station and not worry about how much it costs. You know what I mean? I'd love to have a house and not worry about bills. I'd love to have a family. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where that song just ignited something in me. It was just like, okay, well, here's my track and here's how I can execute it, And even that song, the cover is just so good because you expect something loud and you expect something big with Nirvana, but it was like almost like he was portraying a funeral with the flowers, the lily flowers in the MTV Unplugged. And it was just very brave and very bold of him to go that route of four covers that aren't even big hits. Like
What's the song Jesus on a Sunbeam?
oh,
I forget who.
Jesus don't want me on. Oh, don't
Yeah.
want me for a sunbeam. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another one. And Molly's Lips is another cover they did.
I think they had two or three from the Meat Puppets on that. They did
I think it was
from
Plateau, oh Me, and then Lake of Fire.
yeah, like
Those.
fire. I mean, to be honest, I know this is a huge influence on you, Nirvana. When I remember hearing them when they first came out, and it was like that whole grunge scene from Seattle, and it was like Nirvana, which I think probably I liked the best out of them compared to Pearl Jam or Soundgarden and all that. I wasn't a big fan of that. I think the Pixies was where grunge meets melodic, kind of like
I agree,
alternative.
100%. I agree. I agree.
And then I moved to London, and I was more into that whole UK scene and kind of like the grunge thing. I kind of passed. That was huge in the UK, so don't it wasn't that nobody there. It was just me. But
Mhm.
when I heard the Unplugged somewhere, and I'd seen, and he did the Bowie "Man Who Sold the World." I think that's what turned for me. It just was like, because that was a song I really, a huge Bowie fan, and hearing Kurt's version was incredible. So much so that Bowie himself was like, "Holy shit!" He's picked up on where like I need to get back into this because he's kind of telling me I was good once, And Bowie went through a bit of a rough patch in the '90s and 2000, but I think that version was incredible, and it kind of really showed me. And like you said, I actually think that that's what made them stand out and so unique by doing covers of Meat Puppets, which were a band that I remember when they would play in New Orleans. They would come with SST records and Black Flag, and all of the SST bands would come around, and they would do like Play to Nowhere. And if you had maybe 100 people in the room, you'd see these bands for nothing.
Yeah.
$5 or something cost. So I can see probably that was like influences on Kurt in all of these areas where him using that was so cool. And so that gave me a total respect for them. And it kind of let me go back to their catalog and appreciate them, and not, didn't just let that wave when they were really big kind of lose
Yeah.
out on how good they were. So it
Yeah.
was.
Absolutely.
We come to your last song. Before we do, though, when you're putting together the new album, I think you told me it's Cowpunk, right? That's what it's called. Yeah. Is that a working title, or is that it?
That's it. That is it. I
Are
have
any of the songs already released yet?
there. Well, yeah, Bet on Black
Sure.
is one of
Bet on
them.
Black's going to be on it.
Yeah, Bet on Black for sure. We have another one coming out called Migraine. sure you've probably seen some videos on that, but
Yeah.
basically like we have that.
CPT.
Yeah, CBT. No, not CBT. No, no. But I think with the sound, I think CBT was just kind of something like we should throw in for content and stuff. But with Migraine and the new songs, like Bet on Black, the album's gonna be a mix of those two, pretty much.
Yeah.
So like, but but a lot of the songs that we're making, it matches more Bet on Black. So it's like it's kind of a little confliction because we're like, okay, do we go and follow this new metal hardcore sort of thing? And then at the same time, I'm like, but that's been done before. Like I feel like I should just be something completely different, you know?
Yeah.
And and we will. But cowpunk just comes from like I think of it like I don't think anyone's coined that term,
No.
like punk. And I think like as like a fan base, calling them like, "What's up, cowpunks?" You know what I mean? Like you guys are my like it's like we're all it's just like you're a cowpunk. You know what I mean? It's just like more of like you call your friend a homie. Or like, "What's up, gang? What's up, twin?" You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
with that record, I already know what the cover looks like. I know what I want to go for. It's just the reason we're releasing it next year is because I want to make all the songs and I want to see them for what they are and match. Because I think another thing I love too is when songs just correlate, but also they transition into like one another. I love when albums do that. I love when you
Yeah.
can just put on a record because that's the whole thing about vinyl too. Is what I love. There's a band called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Mhm.
They do this thing where literally if you put on a record, it all sounds like one song. The whole record just sounds like one thing because it's intertwined and I love that. I think it's so cool because I this is going to be the album I want to have on vinyl, like for sure. Like I really want to invest the money in this one because not only is it going to be a great record, but it's just one of those things where I know I could put this on, like, and I'm a fan of the music. Like I'm a fan, like I make it for me. You know what I mean? And I could put it on and just sit it out, and every song would correlate. It's just one of those things of piecing together of like, okay, how do I want this record to sound? How do I want it to look? How do I want to how do I want to express it? You know what I mean? How do I want to push it?
Yeah.
And that's ultimately the process of
Now, you've got like Bet on Black had a little bit of a political overtone to it. Is there going to be
yeah,
other songs that might
yeah.
touch on politics or current
Oh yeah,
situations in the
you
US
can't.
or
Oh yeah,
elsewhere?
oh yeah. You can't have music without politics. You can't have that like that. Like that's yeah. That song, especially with the video, it's so true. Like that part too, and that's like one of my first times like ever kind of rapping on a song, which I don't consider it rapping. I kind of I can see it as like Gorillaz sort of style mixed in with like a little bit of Beastie Boys,
Yeah.
and uh, that's pretty much rapping. But like at the same time, you never know what you're gonna have till it's gone. A certified lie puts the man on the wall. That line in particular, I'm like, so true. And with that song, and most of the songs too, it's just basically covering these topics of, what we're going through, right? And um, kind of just giving it the middle finger.
Yeah.
There's another song called I have coming out on that record called Backhand, and that's basically just like it's the chorus is like I found my voice despite your choice. And the lyrics go into something just completely different and deep, and essentially it's going to intertwine with the record. But another thing with the songs on any record for me is just like I'll take bits and pieces of something that applies to me and then take another something that applies to me and then put it in, and it's just like definitive. Because if you make a song called I Like the Ocean and the lyrics are ocean is the best, ocean is great, it makes my freaking day. I love the ocean. Then it's just like, okay. But if you have something called I Like the Ocean, and then it's about your friend that died in like accident or something, you're like, okay, this has so much more depth. It has so much more,
Yeah. Yeah. Of
like
course.
consistency. And with that song, like Yeah, it definitely has some stuff to do with politically, but also has stuff to do with like on the stage. Like I came to find a peace of mind with the price of a vacant smile. Having to always, sometimes go autopilot when it comes to just like talking, because sometimes I don't love conversation. So you kind of have to be like, yeah, like, that's, yeah, cool. You know what I mean? Like, and it all intertwines to, the music of it all, because yeah, there are definitely big labels and big people in this industry that should not even be on the wall, if you're asking me honestly. Like, I'm not saying artists, I'm saying management. I'm saying the people that are in charge of the money. That's just it's
That's
just
part of the revolution.
yeah, it's disheartening. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're going to end on a good note and
Yes.
a good vibe. This is your final track, which is a great band. And was it recent? How long ago? Last year? He passed away? Brian Wilson?
Brian Wilson? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He passed away this year.
This year. Okay. So it's more recent than that. Um, there's the Beach Boys with Good Vibrations, which is an interesting pick of their catalog. But I mean, obviously, there's more
Well, yeah, don't get it twisted.
overtones into this.
Don't get it twisted. I love Pet Sounds. I love, I heard them with Surfing USA and like, help me Rhonda and Don't Worry Baby. That's another great one. But with Good Vibrations, I will keep this as PG as possible. I heard I will I something happened. I was on a different altitude. And pretty much I had a stereo speaker at my grandparents' house, and my altitude was here, right? So I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna listen to music. This is gonna be great." And I saw that album, and I put it on the record player, and I just like sat on the floor, and I had the headphones on, like old school stuff, like literally old school stuff, and I just sat there. And it was one of those things I figured out I had. There's this thing called synesthesia. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Synesthesia is most musicians have it. It's where if you play a song or if you're making a song, you can see it, but not with your eyes, but in your mind. Like you could see colors. You could see like like that scene from Ratatouille where he's like eating the grapes and the cheese and there's like colors and stuff, whatever. But it's like hearing that song down to like the just that vintage organ thing, in the beginning or the keyboard. And there's never been a song with that thing where it's like the never been a song that's only been used for like radio, like hoax for like, UFOs, right? Right. Well, when I heard that song, it left me with such a feeling that I was like, holy crap, there's never going to be a song like this. There's never going to be a band like this. Brian Wilson is a god, and his brain works in a way I wish mine did. And he had such a sense of song direction where you never knew where the song was going to go as you kept listening to it. You never know.
Yeah.
So when I heard it, I just saw colors, I saw things, I just saw like a video to it. I felt it more than I heard it. And from then I just like, deep dived into all the Beach Boys songs, and then like, got really interested in harmonies and stuff. Like when you hear like, symphonies and like choirs and stuff, I'm just like, I got real into that sort of world. And, it left me with an impression of like, some songs do need harmonies and like doubles, like, you know what I mean? It doesn't just have to be one voice the whole time, depending on what you want to go for. But for the lane of music I want to go to, like if some of the songs with the new record, I'm gonna have to do harmonies over them. I'm gonna have to do certain things. And that's what's, that one song now led into this. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's
I
it's,
think
it's really
that
cool.
that should be some great sounds come out of like what you're going to do with that, because I mean the Beach Boys, I think, almost like anything you hear with harmonies, you kind of bring it back to them. And I know this song in particular, there was a lot about, I think Brian Wilson said, like mysticism, spirituality, and even extrasensory. So although on the surface it sounds like good vibration, it sounds like, Beach Boys trying to be the Beach Boys, but underneath there is a lot more going on to it than that. And there's so many of I've checked out some of their other albums that are not like where most, besides Pet Sounds, which, again, is iconic, but I think there's an album where they actually did the whole thing in Amsterdam or went to the Netherlands and just brought all their instruments, lugged all these like mellotrons or whatever they have, and set up and then recorded it. And there's songs about Big Sur. So it's all these California songs, but done in the Netherlands in dark, gray, rainy days. No offense to my friends in the Netherlands, but so they had to miss California to kind of write the songs about California while they were there.
That's awesome. And what's even crazy is like that's a job. Is that crazy? That's a job. You can get paid for this. Like that's so nuts. But no, when I heard he passed away, I saw everyone post about it. It was all over social media. And it kind of gave me like a hope or something. I don't know if it's the right word, but it gave me like contentment because it's like, yes, he did leave such an impact. And there are people from my generation who understand that, you know what I mean? Like my grandparents were like, this is such a shame. Can't believe this happened, But like with the younger generation, it's like, oh, cool. You guys have awesome taste in music too. You know what I mean? Like that's awesome. And, they still tour without Brian Wilson, but can't imagine that. You know what I mean? I can't. That's just crazy.
Are there any songs that you thought you wanted to put over Toyin with, but because it's it's a bit of a devil to give you a list of 10 only because it's a tight list you have to come up with. But is there anything like
there are a couple. Thieves by Ministry, one of my favorites. I wanted to say Hybrid Moments for sure. There was another song that was a great contender, which was what was it called? It was White Zombie. Gosh. Oh, More Human Than Human. Yeah. White Zombie. That one's pretty crazy. But I think the last one I was thinking of putting on was Sunday Morning by Johnny Cash. I'm a huge Cash fan. So that's a great one. Yeah.
Max, thank you so much for doing this and for being here and sharing. We look forward to some more songs off the new album, Cowpunk. And I will make sure people can find you and to connect with you on Instagram and other places. You do some amazing posts and videos. I mean, besides the music and the lyrics and the songs itself and the singing, you put a package together. So having these videos that you come up with, the GIMP and some areas, we didn't really touch on that.
It's a little crazy. Yeah, it's a little crazy. But yeah,
we didn't touch on the GIMP too much, but I know that was kind of. And now, are we going to see the GIMP come back for Cowpunk, or is that kind of part of?
Well, I'll tell you this much: the GIMP thing, the BDSM, the bondage stuff, was not like it wasn't. It's not like a sort of like sexual thing. Sometimes it can be, but the thing is, I've always just been, I used to cosplay when I was younger, like at comic conventions and stuff. I used to dress up, and I don't know what it is about. I'm fascinated with the bondage stuff. Like when I see that, like imagine we were in a field and you saw someone in bondage just standing there. You would feel unsettled, eerie, almost like kind of like your stomach would turn a little bit because you're like, this doesn't match. This isn't,
this is
like
a horror movie I'm in. What's gonna happen?
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I love when movies play happy songs or songs that don't match the vibe to really bad like stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so essentially it's just kind of a testament to that. Like I'm fascinated with it. It looks cool. I think it looks great. And for the next album, I will not be wearing it, but I am going to be wearing Pachuta boots. Pachuta boots, if you know what that is, it's a so say this is like the back of the boot and it's like the tip, right? They make these boots that, and it's a part of Mexican culture where the boots, like the tip of it goes all the way here. It's the longest thing you have to like see. It's insane.
I'm gonna have to look it up. I'll
Yeah,
put a mention somewhere for that for people
yeah,
if
it's
they
a
can find
Pachuta
it.
boots and shorts, and then when I cut down the weight, I'm gonna put tattoos, and then the shades and the hat, right? No shirt, just shorts, boots, and I do want, because as a front man, and that's the thing with the music industry too, is like no matter what you look like, if the music's great, it's gonna you're gonna do great. I am more obsessed with the fact of like, what makes James Brown James Brown? James Brown. You know what makes Bootsy Collins Bootsy Collins? Bootsy Collins. They all have this distinguished style that makes the it factor. And as a front guy, I want to have the boots, not that long on stage, but like shorts, no shirt, whatever. And then I wanted to have like latex gloves to like here, pretty much. I want to put on a performance more so than a concert. You know what I'm saying? So I won't be wearing it as much, but there'll be tones of it. But eventually, when I do have a budget and the label gods want to help me on the money, I'd love to have like performance art like on stage. I'd love to have like and even the music videos for these songs, there's definitely going to be some themes of that sort of lane. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where when you watch it, like you see it, you see the vision, you see the style, you see the feeling, like I want to portray. And that's essentially what I'm trying to aim for this next record, and understand like, okay, coin cowpunk, I'm going to coin that term and figure out like, how can I make this to where not only rock fans can enjoy it, but people who love music can enjoy it. You know what I mean? So I may have to scale back a little bit on the Gibb stuff, but you know what I mean? It's it's a process. It's a process. It's a process.
Max, thank you so much. Give a big hug to the family in Houston from me.
I will. I promise, Sean. It was awesome talking to you. I'm sorry for the disruptions. I'm sorry, but thank you again.
Good luck with the tour, and I really hope. I'm looking forward to hearing some of those new songs.
You'll be the first one to hear it. Once I get another demo done, I got you.
So to everybody, I always say this when we leave: to be kind, be humble, be loved. Much success to you. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pretty vacant times.
It suffers for his sports jacket.